In life, we are on a constant pursuit for our slice of the pie. The pie comes in many forms, whether it's starting a business, higher education, pursuing a career, raising a family, and the list continues. The burdens we face during our pursuit is lessened when we are financially fit. The Breadwinners created a platform where we can discuss finances and entrepreneurship in a judgment-free space. We're striving to encourage healthy financial discussions amongst our peers to capture our slice, until we no longer want a slice and would rather bake our own cake. So, you know the whole idiom growing up, I want a piece of the pie or a slice of the pie.
Yeah.
What does that mean to you?
It's, you want a piece of that reward of the work that you put in, all your resources. So it might be time, might be money, but you want a piece of that, what you put in, you know what I mean? So maybe in the sense of my business, Amayze, you know, I'm contributing to the economy as far as small businesses goes, and I want to see my reward given to me, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And about your business, Amayze, tell us a little bit more about it.
Amayze, it's an athleisure, athletic sportswear brand that I really, when I put it together, it was based off of this idea of move with purpose, being intentful, purposeful in those movements, because life is going to get hard.
Yeah.
Right? And then you're thinking about, you know, how am I going to keep going? You have to think back to that purpose of why you even started. You know what I mean? So it's just like everything with life. Everybody's got that same idea, but in different words. And that's kind of what I want to embody. You know, it could be that kid that all he knows as far as, you know, getting money or buying his mom a house is he's got to make it to the league. You know what I mean? He's got to get that, you know what I mean? But it's not just that. It can be that dad who, you know, he just got back from the doctor's office and they told him, hey, if you don't lose 30 pounds, you're going to be at heart risk and you could possibly die and your children of 3 could grow up without you. You know, his purpose is going to be his children, you know what I mean? That's going to keep him going because that journey of weight loss for a healthier life, that's going to be hard, you know what I mean? So it's kind of what it's about. And I just want to make dope clothes that people are going to want to wear, but also has a message on it.
Absolutely. So the saying, health is wealth.
Yeah.
Which one is more valuable, your money or how healthy you are? Because you can be 60, a billionaire, but your health is crap.
Exactly.
So which one is it?
It's definitely the health. And it goes along with that whole idea of you have all this money, but you also don't have time to spend it or to enjoy it, in my mind. You know what I mean? I used to work at the Cleveland Clinic, and I would get people who called into the Digestive Disease Center, which typically wasn't life-threatening, but it threatened the quality of their life. So them just going to events or, you know, wanting to go travel across the United States, it really slowed them down. It really caused a big inconvenience. So that health is everything. There's been many millionaires, billionaires that's talked about just wanting the health aspect. Take all the money, you know what I mean?
Right, absolutely.
I want the health. So,
question for you from your business perspective, as an entrepreneur, as someone, you understand and know the grind, right? Because it's not easy, right?
Yep.
It's tough. So during this process, it's so easy for you to go out and get fast food, right? Because it seems like there's a chicken spot on every corner. But when it comes to healthy options, we're now starting to see in healthy spots and healthy places. Yeah. But it's still not as easy as to get like Chick-fil-A or Burger King, Wendy's, Arby's, plug for all of them people, but everything. So as an entrepreneur, how important it is for you to maybe to take those extra few minutes and pick out something healthy and or meal prep and things of that nature.
Yeah, tremendously important. I'd be lying if I said I didn't step out and get like Chick-fil-A. Shout out Chick-fil-A.
So we can catch,
for a minute, you know what I mean?
They can catch you in the line.
Right, you know what I mean? But
there's Mo.
Right, but at the same time, it's like an ebb and flow. You know what I mean? I try to eat healthy majority of the time. You know what I mean?
Yep.
How that's going to benefit me. It's a feel process too with the body. You know what I mean? When I go work out, have a good workout, then I'm like, okay, let me eat something healthy. And you start to stack those days.
Yep.
And of course, summertime is good for drinking. It's good for going out, having food that may be just even calorically dense. Not even necessarily bad for you. You know what I mean?
Right, absolutely.
You can grill meat, but then you throw in the barbecue sauce, and then you have sides like mac and cheese, whatever that may be. So, I mean, it's tremendously important, but we got hopefully a long life to live. And
yeah, I do.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So we want to
grow up.
enjoy it, you know what I mean? So
Absolutely. So, like physical healthness, mental healthness, and financial wellness is extremely important as well. Growing up, we used to have this idiom, and this idiom we got from the Good Times from the show, keeping your head above water.
Yeah.
And I used to hear my parents say it all the time, in passing. Whenever someone say, "Hey, you have a nice new car," that's nice. I'm just keeping my head above water.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like downplaying it, but when you really dive into it, what does that really mean to you?
To me, it means, you're just getting by as far as, your expenses are covered, and you have just enough money to almost look like you're doing more than what you actually feel like you're doing. You know what I mean? So if you have $1,000 in expenses, maybe you're making $1,400, so you got an extra $400 to do extra stuff with. You're just keeping your head above water. You know what I mean? Which is tough when you want to get to that next level.
Absolutely, and I think it's like per generation. I think, the show Good Times came out maybe in the 70s or 80s. My mom's going to kill me because I don't know this. The 70s or 80s, but you really think about it, per generation, it's the opportunities were different, per generation. And then you got to look at household sizes. Back in the day, some homes had two parents that actually worked. But back then, mainly it was just the dad and the mom staying home, took care of the kids. And so the dynamics were a little different. But when I think of keeping my head above water, like you alluded to, it's, excuse me, it's just getting by.
Yeah.
It's literally like, I just got enough, or I'm just staying afloat.
Yep.
And what happens is over generations, we pick up financial habits from the previous generation. So from Gen Xers and Boomers, and regardless of their situation, life happens.
Yeah.
Things happen unexpectedly. So in order for us to not keep our head above water and us to sleep better at night, because for me, I sleep a lot better at night knowing that I got an emergency fund established, a rainy day fund established, because I have two kids. And my oldest used to break his glasses all the time. He used to flush them down the toilet like this kid. He went through this phase.
Yeah, he's testing you.
Yeah, and then my youngest is...
Let's see what that fund's really got.
Yeah, my youngest, he's a daredevil. So he's the complete... They're different. They're the same.
Daddy got it.
Yeah.
I'm jumping up.
So my son. Yeah. We see a lot of broken bones. We see a lot of these things. So when I think of an emergency fund, it's 3 to 6 months of your bills, right?
Okay.
And those are your living expenses. So like your mortgage, your rent, your car, your insurance, your utilities. You take 3 to 6 months wherever you feel more comfortable, and then you stash that away. My tip is to put that in a high yield savings account.
Okay.
They're different than traditional savings accounts. Yeah. They're mainly online, like Marcus, Discover, American Express has one.
Okay. Ally, is Ally? Ooh.
Ally has one,
okay,
M1 Finance, and they give you a higher dividend yield than your traditional savings accounts at local banks.
Gotcha. Pretty easy to set up then?
Yeah, it takes like 5 minutes,
okay, cool.
if that. And to me, that's extremely important. So I have a few different strategies when it comes to setting up emergency funds. I like to take 3 months and put that in a high yield savings account.
Yep.
Then the other 3 months, I put it in an investment account, and I invest that money in index funds.
Yep.
Index funds aren't sexy, right? I mean, they are a bunch of companies all in one stock. So when the stock market goes up, it moves a little. When it goes down, it moves a little, but it's very consistent. But you still have access to your funds if you need it to go that route. After an emergency fund, I'll go right to a rainy day fund.
Okay.
And rainy day fund, it's pretty tough or difficult to determine how much goes into a rainy day fund.
What would you describe as a rainy day, for example?
You blow out a tire,
Okay.
that's a rainy day. A kid
Yeah.
breaks a window,
Yep.
that's a rainy day. Car breaks down,
Got you.
a medical expense, something that you can't really plan for. Well, you can plan to replace your tires,
Right.
but you can't plan if you hit a nail on 480 and now you got to go and buy a new
Yeah,
tire.
those unforeseen events that you didn't plan for.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then the emergency fund is like, holy crap, like shit hit the fan. Like, you know, I lost my job.
Yeah.
I got into it with so-and-so at work and I just had to drop them. So now I lost my job and okay, now I got this money set aside,
Yep.
you know, so that's the difference. And then you can play around with the funds. But most importantly, what I notice in every generation, it's the lack of attention to budgeting. The budgeting is so important.
Yeah.
Because that's the foundation of financial wellness. To me, it is. Because if you can't budget, you can't save.
Well,
And
even
then-
when I think about, sorry to interrupt, but
No, go
when I
right
think
ahead.
about my business and, you know, I talk about allocating funds, you know what I mean? That's still budgeting, correct?
Yes,
You know
sir.
what I mean? So if we made $1,000, you know, how does that $1,000 get divvied up? You know what I mean? Does that go towards inventory? Does that go towards, you know, our pockets? Does that, you know, how does that get divvied up? So, you know, you touch on it. That's great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It is. I think when it comes to budgeting, it's really based on your personality because everything isn't for everyone. But there's a budgeting tool for everyone.
Right.
There's one for everyone. My favorite is the Pay Yourself First. And Pay Yourself First budget is a tool that makes you save before you spend.
Okay.
But that's really good for people that are just starting out or just getting out of college.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes, if you start a budgeting plan, you already have expenses. And you may not be able to save first. You got to get out of debt first.
Yeah.
So that's where the Pay Yourself First starts. And the most popular is the 50-30-20, and it was made popular by Elizabeth Warren. She had a book with another lady back in '06. I was just reading it the other month. Forget the name of it. But the 50-30-20 is 50% goes towards your needs, 30% goes towards like your bills, and 20% goes towards savings. But you can change those numbers to whatever you want it to be. I'm not a big fan of 80% going towards my bills and then my needs or wants rather. And
I would
wants could
imagine.
be cable service,
Yeah.
you know, things that you don't need.
Yeah.
So
I would imagine, I'm sorry to interrupt, but
No, go right
that
ahead.
it would definitely depend on too, you know, how many expenses you have. You know, because I got a lot of friends who, you know, they got a lot of help, support from, you know, whether it's people in their family or whatnot, and they don't have much expenses. Maybe they got a car, you know, they don't have to pay for their car per month.
Oh, that's nice.
Maybe they live with their parents too as well. You know what I mean? And then if you have a high income job on top of that, you know, now they're really stacking. You know what I mean? So that I like the percentages how it's divvied up, but I gotta imagine too it would have to be a little bit comprehensive for certain people too as well. But
Absolutely. And the beauty about it is that you don't have to do 50-30-20. What
Yeah.
if you say, you know what, I just want to save more? I'll go 50% is savings, you know, and then 30%. It is, but
Nice,
I know some people that do that.
I know.
And shouts out to them, you
Yeah.
know, big shouts out to them. And
I need a small loan of $1 million if they
yeah, absolutely, because
Spot me real quick.
you know they're so disciplined, and that's the one key metric or the one key attribute, for budgeting, just for finance, anything in the finance world is discipline. Because if you're not disciplined, then you're gonna go out, spend money that you don't have. What Will Smith say? You spend money you don't have to impress people you don't like.
Yep.
Or it was on a meme, so I don't know if he actually
That's
said it, but
but that yeah.
someone said it.
Yeah.
So, but seriously, it's like that, and it's like, man, this is crazy because you hit the wall at some point.
Yes.
But even from a business perspective, as well, once you're acquiring all this money and everything is working out, what do you do with it?
Yeah.
You know, you have to start having those conversations with your accountant or with your lady or, you know, whomever you discuss finances with, because
Business partners, et cetera, et
it's
cetera.
extremely
Yeah.
important. 50 Cent said that you're not making money until the money you're making makes money for you.
Yep.
So he said, when I was out doing shows, I had to work to get money, but now I don't. And it's like, damn, you know, like that's.
I'm also a trainer too on the side. So, you know, if I was to do training full time, and I got 20 clients, I'm not going to get paid unless I'm actually there training my clients. You know what I mean? That's what could be so tough about industries like this in this service type of space, where like, hey, if you're not doing it, you know, what are you falling back on?
But,
you know what I mean?
But what if you got to the point where you built that brand
Yep.
to where now you're bringing on trainers under you?
Boom.
So now they're working for you because they want to get their foot in the door with a brand that's already established.
Yep.
Right?
Hey,
Right?
preaching.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
But yes, that's a good thought. And 50 wasn't lying when he said that, obviously. And that's what everybody's trying to work towards. You know what I mean? You can see it. Podcasts such as this, you know, giving you ideas on side hustles potentially. So
Because right now we're in the trenches.
Yeah.
You know, that phase in business.
shout out Meek Mill. He always talks about the trenches.
Yeah, and he got a new Expensive Pain. His new album's coming out.
It's fire. It came out.
It did already?
Yeah, it's fire.
I've been so locked in trying to get this together. I haven't had a chance. But yeah, no, it's we are in the trenches, and it really tries you, man.
Yeah,
it tries you mentally. It's exhausting.
Yeah,
From the perspective of personal finance, it all starts with, you know, budgeting,
Yeah.
then savings, and then you get to the fun part, which now you have like that elusive credit score, right?
Boom.
And your credit profile. So shouts out to, you know, Mr. Fair and Mr. Isaac. A lot of people don't know this, but FICO started in the 60s.
I thought it was one person.
No, I
That
think
came
it's
up. Was
Mr.
it-
Fair and Mr. Isaac.
So it's two people.
I believe
Wow.
it's somebody.
Two people.
So yeah, I think it's out of Omaha or one of those places.
Omaha, sorry.
Yeah, but when it comes to, shouts out to, who's that? Peyton Manning?
Peyton.
Yeah, Peyton. So when it comes to FICO, it's a 3-digit number that can impact your life, right? It determines a lot. And I know like money don't buy happiness and all that jazz, but
credit that, no, I'm kidding.
it buys experiences.
Yeah.
And you have so many people on the different ends of the spectrum on how they view money and how they view credit. So, but from the Breadwinners' perspective, we view credit as a tool.
Yeah.
And it's a tool for you to acquire assets, which could be properties, it could be vehicles, it could be anything that's going to make you money, like straight to passive income. That's what it makes you. But when it comes to credit, a lot of people don't really understand how FICO works.
Yeah.
The biggest soapbox moment, but the biggest thing for me is the Credit Karma versus the Credit Karma, the Credit Journey. A lot of banks offer the Vantage 3.0, which Credit Karma does. I love Credit Karma because the moment you apply for something, it pings you like within milliseconds, and it's weird.
So is the Vantage, I thought it was, it assesses the risk differently. So for example, and this has actually happened to me, I tried to acquire a loan a long time ago, and my credit score was high, but my debt to income ratio, because I had student loans, wasn't optimal enough. So now it's like, okay, so not only do I have to have a high credit score, but now my debt to income ratio has to be optimal. But if you're working, you know, fresh out of college, and you're getting a job that's maybe paying you $35,000, $45,000 a year, and you have, let's say, $100,000 in student loans, yeah, your debt to income ratio is not going to look optimal.
No, you're going to look like a high risk.
You know what I mean? So, but it's like, you know, how comprehensive can the system become? You know what I mean? That's where I always look at it. It's like, okay, let's truly, maybe an underwriter takes a deeper dive into this person. Like, okay, they just graduated. Okay, they got a job. Okay, the debt to income ratio's not great, but it is student loan debt. Okay. Or they have a job as, you know, a dental assistant.
Yep.
Okay, they're about to go back to school to be an actual dentist. Like, okay, you know, how much are they asking? I don't know how much actually plays a role, but because there's so many people who apply, it's probably mostly done by a system.
An algorithm.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
It's crazy. That's why bank offers, like when you apply for credit cards and even loans online, it's all done in a matter of seconds because it's an algorithm that they have within their system. But there's so many ways around that. But unfortunately, if you're fresh out of college, you probably don't have an extensive credit history.
Right.
Then you have a new job, so you're relatively a high risk. Although you can have a higher score, you just have to figure out a different route to acquire the means.
Yeah, and I think that was the hardest part for me, is trying to figure out a different, like, okay, how do I get this loan for, let's say, a car? You know what I mean? I just need better transportation. Do I need
absolutely.
to apply for a lower amount? Do I, you know, for me in that situation, I didn't have somebody that could co-sign, for example.
Right.
You know.
Neither did I.
Or, you know what I mean? So it's like, so now we're just hustling and you know, I was upset. You know, I was angry. I went down this extensive history of credit and like who came up with it and why it's like this, and you know what I mean? I'm just like, okay, now I need to get a better job. Okay, well, you can't get a better job without having a good skill set. You know, oh, do I go back to school to develop a better skill set? No, you don't got to go back to school to get a better skill set. You can, you know, maybe go and do an online course. You know, well, I felt like in the past 3 years, online courses just became a lot bigger, you know, and partially due to the pandemic. You know, that great reset. People were like, okay, now, you know, I got essentially fired, not fired, but I don't have a job anymore. I didn't want to do that job anyway. I was stuck there for 5 years and I needed a way out, but it was the security, it was the stability that I was, you know, that I needed, that kept me there. Now I actually want to go into, I want to code, you know what I mean? And now I can jump into that, and more and more companies, to me, it seems like they're like, hey, I don't need a guy who went to school for 4 years, guy or girl that went to school for 4 years to know that they can do the job. If they get through this course, and then we start them entry level, and entry still may be like $70,000 a year. You know what I mean? Now you just essentially kind of doubled your income. Now your debt to income ratio looks totally different.
It looks a lot better.
Yeah.
But when you're fresh out, especially in college, and you have these student loans, I'm unsure if they're federal or private, that plays a big factor.
Yeah.
Because with federal student loans, you can get on the different type of payment plans, like the IBR. The income-based payment plan is really good because they base it off of like your family size, your current situation. So on your credit reports, it may say, because you know with the student loans, they have like 20,000 entries for one actual loan.
Yes, yeah.
I'm still puzzled as to why, but from a credit perspective, that actually helps you because it gives you more accounts.
Yeah.
It thickens your profile. But when it comes to the IBR, the income-based repayment plan, they give you a lower payment amount. So you can be paying $50 or $100 a month for it, and then it'll populate on your credit report, and then that'll reduce your debt to income ratio.
Yeah.
And sometimes when that goes to underwriting, you kind of got to point that out if they don't see it. I don't want to call them lazy, but if they don't see it, then you point that out. So that'll help students right out of college as well.
Yeah. And another thing, you know, talking about the accounts and just, I don't want to call it transfer risk almost, but, you know, you having $15,000 in credit card debt with like, let's say 95% utilization already, and then you get a loan for $15,000, you pay off that credit card debt.
Right.
Now you acquired a new account, which was a loan, but all it did was move that money from one spot to another. And then often I feel like what happens is people are going to rack up their credit cards again. But it's interesting though that $15,000 never really went away from Mo. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
That never. I still have $15,000 that I owe. But now that I've acquired this new account and my utilization went down like crazy, now I'm in a better financial. I'm not looked at as high risk.
No.
You know
Let me explain why.
Yeah.
Let me explain why. So when you look at your credit profile, you got to break it down. So you break it down from revolving accounts, installment accounts, right? And those are the two that I mainly focus on with all my clients. So you look at revolving accounts, that's 30% of your credit score, and that's that utilization.
Yep.
I don't know why they say the national average is 30%. I'm pretty sure it is, but people strive for 30%. I'm like, no, you should strive for 0. There's this thing out there that if you keep 1 to 3%, your score will be higher. I call it baloney, but because every credit profile is different.
I would love to see the numbers that go into giving you that extra point or two almost. You know what I mean?
But what's crazy is it's difficult to quantify that because every profile is different.
Right.
Like my credit age is different than your credit age. My total number of accounts is different than your total number of accounts.
Right.
You know, it's all different. But back to the credit card versus the moving the debt from the credit card to the personal loan.
Yeah.
So what happens, your utilization drops. And depending on how much you move over, if it goes down to like 5%, your score is going to skyrocket up because now you're looking at, okay, this guy can use his credit card. He can manage his debt responsibly. But then the other account, the personal loan, goes to installment accounts. And installment accounts are, the difference between revolving and installment accounts is this.
Yeah.
So revolving accounts are credit cards, pretty much credit cards, department store cards, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't have a set end date. So you can, and it doesn't have a set end date and it doesn't have a set payment date.
Yeah.
Payment amount every month. You can have a $1,000 balance, your minimum payment can be $30. You can have a $2,000 balance, it can be $100, your minimum payment.
Right.
But on an installment, you're essentially signing a contract. And it's, okay, you may take out a $15,000 personal loan for 60 months at a 12% rate, and your payment is going to be, let's say, $250 a month. It's going to be $250 regardless, right, until you pay off that loan. You can pay more 1 month, that extra money goes towards the principal, not the interest. And that's the difference, and they weigh those differently. Because you think about it, what are the numbers from debt.org? You have credit cards just hit $1 trillion in debt. And they are right behind home, auto, student loans,
yeah.
and then it's credit cards. But if you look at it, you say, okay, home, you have a house.
Right.
So it's debt, but it's not really debt, because if you bought the house right, you can sell the house,
Yeah.
take the equity and bounce, right? And then you have student loans, which is auto. Cars are not really a good expense. They are because they're needed,
Right.
but you can make that argument both ways, and I drive a Tesla, so I'm not about to make that argument, right?
Shout out Elon.
Shout out Elon and David for getting the same car as me.
Yeah.
So you look at cars, at least you still have a tangible asset.
Right.
That if something happens, you have gap coverage or whatever. You total it out, you can make whole. And then student loans, one of these presidents need to just call it quits and just hit that Control-Alt-Delete button.
That would be cool.
All you have to do is leave the door open, right? I will come through the door, just show me the computer, I'll do
Yeah.
it, and I'll sprint out.
Yeah.
And then from there, we'll figure it out from there. If I get caught, somebody just write me, right?
Yeah.
Just put some money on my
Hey, that would be nice.
It would. So when you get to credit cards,
Yeah.
there's no tangible asset. So it's like, what did you do with the money?
Mm-hmm.
And then the interest rates are like
Got a lot
24.
of shoes.
Sneakers.
Yeah.
What? Nowadays? Well, no, not really nowadays, because you're gonna buy them off StockX,
Right.
unless you gotta buy it.
The hustles out here.
It's amazing. But once you have your optimum credit score, once that's up, right,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have a solid credit score, 800s are not really, they're not magical to me. An 800 credit score is like a trophy wife.
Yeah.
You just stare at it.
It's okay.
You know, it looks good when you go out. I don't know how you tell someone you got an 800 credit score, but like a trophy wife, they look good. You take them somewhere, you show them off, but they're good for nothing,
Yeah.
right? But in a sense of someone with good credit or great credit, you know, they have bad, decent, good, better, best, whatever. But my motto is a 740 and up is my thing, because that means I'm active
Yeah.
with my credit, and credit as passive income. Oh my God. It's not for everybody. Financial disclosure. This information that we provide is not for everybody.
Yeah.
And the information that I share with you, take it for what it is, but don't say, well, Jason said this, because Jason ain't say shit. but no, joking aside, I use credit for passive income. My biggest thing is I'm a whore for credit card points.
Mm.
It's weird.
That's a hustle. Yeah.
I currently have
That's good.
a little over 40
What type of rewards do you offer?
credit cards.
It's like, oh no, you don't have any? Okay.
I'm out.
Yeah.
What can you do for me?
Right.
Because I know how to play the game
Yeah.
and work the game. So when it comes to credit cards, my favorite bank is American Express,
Okay.
because I have pretty much every Amex card on the personal and on the business side. And their transfer partners are super legit.
Very cool.
And oh my God, yeah, I haven't paid for a flight or a hotel in 6 years. 6 years. So my wife and I, we fly,
Yeah.
and it's like
Traveling.
hotels and all that jazz. We don't pay for that.
Very cool.
Because we use our credit cards and we use those for our expenses.
Yeah.
But it all goes back to being disciplined, right?
Yeah.
Because when you get those high credit limits, I get a $20,000 credit limit. That doesn't mean I'm going to go out and buy $20,000 worth of stuff and be like, oh crap, I can't pay it back.
Right.
You know, so
The expense that you're already going to pay anyway with cash, pay with the credit card with rewards.
Yep.
Get something for your money. Pay off the credit card with the cash.
Absolutely.
The discipline. You know what I mean?
Plug moment, plastic with a Q at the end. You can sign up for plastic and use your credit cards to pay your everyday bills. That won't take credit cards. And you can sign up for free, and they give you different sign-up bonuses so you can avoid the credit card transaction fees. In the beginning, it takes a little bit of hard work, a little bit of research, a little bit of due diligence, but you can set up an easy credit card strategy with them, American Express or Chase. Capital One is, I don't really like them because all you really can get is their transfer partners are at. They're not that great compared to Capital One. I mean, not compared to American Express and Chase.
Yeah.
So you transfer the points with American Express. I transfer the points to my airlines, which is Delta and Marriott. And I just work it from there, and you just work it from there. So every time you use your credit card, understand like, okay, what am I getting out of this?
Right.
And then you have American Express for gas. They have a 6% cashback gas card. They got a 4%.
I'm filling up everybody's. Hey, come fuel up. Just give me your. I'm gonna use my card.
Yo, group dinners.
Yeah.
When we go to group dinners, absolutely.
Yeah.
Everybody Zelle me your dinner. Put it on one bill and give me the bill.
Cool.
Because they have one card that gives you 4x points at restaurants.
Work the system.
That's all you're doing.
Exploit that gray area.
What they do is they do that, but they know, all right, we're gonna trip up some people.
Yeah.
But not this guy.
they're in it to make money, and yeah, you're right. So I think, they're like, okay, he's gonna that 5% that knows what and they're really disciplined. Okay, but that 95%, that's where we're gonna make our money.
Yep.
So yeah.
So they make it on the front end with transaction fees, and then they make it on the back end with interest rates. So the bank, it's $1 billion plus a year industry. So you just got to know how to work it, and that's all. My second favorite when it comes to credit cards is Chase. Yep. Their Ultimate Rewards program is insane. Their transfer partners are up there with American Express. And what's crazy is you can see them fighting each other.
What's this for a long time in movies, older TV shows? I would always see, we don't take American Express. We don't take it. Is it just because they didn't sign a contract with many people, or what was it? Do you know what that was about?
You know what? I'm going to say it was American Express's financial requirement from merchants.
Oh, okay.
Because some merchants charge 2.5, 2.9, 3%. American Express has gotten a lot better with that over the decades.
I've noticed, yeah.
But with the Amex, they have this prestige, right? This prestige where if you have an American Express, people think you're doing like exceptionally well.
Oh.
But all you need is a mid-600 to get an Amex card.
Yeah.
And the beauty about Amex is once you get one card, they'll never hard pull your credit again.
Wow, okay.
Never.
Isn't that, and again, these are just gripes that I have with.
No, go right ahead.
With credit, it seems like, I'm being responsible. I want to get a loan, a credit line, or what have you. And this company needs to see where I'm at. You know what I mean? And I understand that they fall off after 25 months, these inquiries. But when you get an inquiry after 4+ or something like that, it starts to harm your credit because people want to check it out. What is that?
Yes and no. Well, credit is 10 or 15% of your credit score. I'm sorry, inquiries are 10% or 15%. I really don't focus on inquiries.
I think it should be 0.
To
an extent, you know what I mean? Like, if you're getting 25 hard pulls and it's like, okay, what scam are you running?
Yeah,
you know
no, not at all. Because here's the crazy part. They stay on your credit report for 24 months. Really, on the 25th month, they come off.
Yeah.
But they only impact your score for 12.
And if they're gonna only impact your score for a year, 12 months, it's like, why not just?
So here's what banks are doing now. They're doing pre-qualifications or pre-approvals and things like that, which is dope because they do a soft pull in your credit to see if you're going to get approved before actually pulling your credit for a lot of things, not just credit cards either.
Right.
So, mileage may vary because sometimes you can get pre-approved and still get denied, but the odds are less likely.
Right.
So banks are doing that because they know there's nothing worse than you applying for something and getting denied.
Right.
And you got that inquiry.
That's what I'm saying.
It's like, what? No, something must change
Got
here.
slapped twice.
So banks are changing that. Like for me, American Express does that. I have this list of about 40 banks that does pre-qualifications.
Yeah. I would say I haven't ran across one that's not going to pre-qualify. You know, I get tons of stuff in the mail. We pre-qualify, we pre-qualify, you know, and all that stuff. And that's good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But when it comes to like passive income, oh my God, with credit, the biggest one is real estate. Oh my God.
Talk to me.
Buy houses
Yeah.
with your credit. Absolutely. Don't put, people have this whole thing, I want to put it in my business name. I think it's cool and all, but you get better rates putting it in your personal name.
Okay.
So real estate is a really good place because my thing is the two surest ways to wealth is through real estate and through investing. Yeah, so for me, the three key things I like people to use their personal credit for, well, I use my personal credit for, real estate. It's so important to me because the two surest ways to wealth, in my opinion, is through real estate, which is land, and through investments. But land doesn't just have to mean physical property.
Okay.
Because there's so many different options and routes out there when it comes to physical property. I mean, it comes to real estate. But you buy houses with your personal credit. I know people like to do it with their business name, and there's pros and cons, and I'm not going to argue with people about which route you want to take, because we all can look out at the same window and see different things, and all of us can be right. You know,
I've heard of people doing it with Airbnbs.
Airbnbs.
Doing it under their business, though.
Absolutely.
So,
you can do it either way. Whichever one gives you the best rate, because the best rate means the lower your monthly payment, the more money you're going to have in your pocket.
Okay.
So that's number two. But that's way more elaborate than it would be with like credit cards, because credit cards is a little different.
Yeah.
That's super easy. That's like step one, and then at the very top would be real estate. But the one right in the middle is cars.
Okay.
One of the biggest hustles that emerged on the market is Turo.
Yep.
And Turo is operating in the same space as like Uber, Uber and what's the other one?
Airbnb.
Lyft.
Oh,
well,
okay.
Uber,
Oh,
Lyft, and because they're in transportation but don't own cars. And then Airbnb, they're in real estate but they don't own houses.
Right.
And Turo's is in the automotive but they don't own cars. So there's so many little tips and tricks that you can do with Turo so you can actually earn cash. And the market really depends on where you are.
Man.
Because Cleveland is not Miami, it's not LA, it's not Vegas, it's not Chicago, it's not a big tourist spot. But there's Turo people here that's making like really good money.
Yeah.
And there's so many little things that you can do to make that happen. But it all starts. You see how for you to make money, you really need to be good with your money, right? Yeah. And then that all goes back to the beginning of your credit, and then from your credit, we're gonna go all the way back to budgeting, and then budgeting. Let's go from keeping our head above water to staying afloat. From staying afloat, let's make sure we have all these things in place.
And it's funny you hear about the phrase super common, you need money to make money. And I've seen and heard people talk about, well, you don't need money. You know, you could fundraise, you could, you know,
like GoFundMe?
But in my mind, I'm like, you still need that money. You need money. It may not be your money, but you need money to make that money.
Somebody's money.
Yeah, exactly. So
somebody's money.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And before we wrap this up, I want to give two tips. One tip is going to be from you, as far as from your brand, your passion. What's one tip you want to give out there to someone as far as the physical health, because you are a personal trainer and you own a clothing brand? What is a tip you want to give to someone that's an aspiring entrepreneur regarding the passions that you're in, the fields that you're in?
Something off the top. I'm sure I got more, but I really like the documentation of the journey, because often we can get down on ourselves. You know, you can hear people, you know, talk negatively about how you're doing, whether that's health-wise, working out, or that's your business. But when you document it and you see, you know, 180 days ago where you were compared to where you are now, you're like, okay, I've definitely made a considerable amount of movement. You know, that gives you a bigger perception, almost a feel of like, okay, this is where I'm at in space with everything. And everything just starts to feel like it's accelerating even faster. You know what I mean? And that can be your motivating piece right there, is that documentation of your journey or where you're at. So that's my biggest tip.
Awesome. You know, I'm going to play off that from a financial perspective. And I'm going to say, when we're out there finding our niche and we're out there grinding, trying to build our emergency fund and build our rainy day fund, make sure you stop and enjoy those moments as well.
Boom.
Treat yourself. Each month, take a few dollars, treat yourself once you hit your goal. Because you have to, it's those little self-wins, those self-victories. It's kind of like when you're working out and, a cheat meal.
Yeah.
Perhaps. But I'm not saying go out there and just blow everything.
Yeah.
But enjoy the moment, enjoy the journey,
Yeah.
and make sure that you really, really, really reward yourself. Because
Still life at the end of the day.
Absolutely. We only got one shot at this.
That's what I'm saying. It's good.
Done.